Good evening, good day, and welcome to the More Yoga Connection Cafe. My name is Yvonne O'Garro, and I'm a restorative and hatha yoga teacher with More Yoga. And this evening, this is the Yoga Journeys, which is part of the Connection Cafe. And Connection Cafe has been going like over a year now. Started in the first lockdown back in March 2020 for a way for all of us to connect as the studios were closed, just for us to keep that More Yoga community going. And then when George Floyd was tragically killed in the summer of last year, More Yoga asked me to hold space for people of color, but also to kind of just raise awareness and amplify melanated voices. So I came up with Yoga Journeys, asking yogas of color, same 10, 12 questions, but the answers are beautifully different. So today I have the pleasure of introducing Shaka Lish.
Hey!
Welcome, Shaka.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for accepting. I'm really enjoying this series because, and we all know the questions, but none of us know the answers, and it's just so wonderful, the richness in answers. So yeah, thank you for signing up. So how are you doing today?
I'm good. Bit busy, crazy times we're living in, but surviving, hanging on in there. I can't complain. Give thanks every day.
Because today is 17th of May, because you're probably watching this on catch up. 17th of May 2021. In the UK it's a big day because it's the easing of the lockdown. People can eat and drink, and yoga studios have reopened today, so it's a pretty big day. So yeah, so glad you could be here and not teaching in the studio, so thank you.
Yeah, no, pleasure. Thank you.
So we're going to get into the questions, but before we get into the Yoga Journeys questions, I like our yogis to introduce themselves as if they were in a lift with somebody and you had to do that 30-second lift intro. Don't worry, I'm not going to time you, but because I think I'm saying yogi, but many of us, and especially you have so many different strings to your bow. So I'm really interested in how people introduce themselves, because like, what do they say first? So how would you introduce yourself in a 30-second lift intro?
Well, I'd probably start by saying my name. So I'm Shaka, and I guess I would describe myself as a sadhaka, a seeker, someone who's seeking knowledge of the world that I live in and knowledge of self. And in that journey, in that seeking, I came across a practice called yoga, and it changed my life. And so now I teach yoga, but I also still call myself a student. I still very much consider myself a student of yoga and a teacher. But like you said, I've got kind of other strings to my bow. So in a previous life, I was a yoga, a singer. So I'm involved in music. I'm a creative songwriter, and also a bit of academia. So I've studied as well, and also a bit of politics. Been involved in some politics as well. And currently work for a charity, and at the moment, like a real big passion, a real big part of my life is healing through energy, hands-on healing, and intuitive tarot readings. So I do that as well. So enough to keep you busy. I also do a bit of photography, and I'm sure there's other things as well that I probably missed. But this is the modern times. We've got to be juggling about 1,000 things.
Absolutely.
So, but ultimately, in the core, I say I'm a seeker. I'm a sadhaka.
A sadhaka. Love it. Thank you so much. What a lovely...
I don't know if that was 30 seconds, but thank you.
No, I don't know about the time. See, this is why I want everybody to introduce themselves, because there's so much more than the yogi. I mean, yogi on its own is absolutely fine, but when we have so many more things to add on, I just think, I just find it fascinating. So yeah, please do weave in all your different strings, as the questions come along, because I appreciate it's not one linear thing for you. So yeah, it's your journey. Share whatever you would like to share. So are you ready to get into the questions?
I'm ready. I'm ready. Throw it at me, everyone.
Okay.
Go on, throw it at me.
Okay. First question. Honoring our ancestors, please tell us your family lineage.
Yeah, sure. So I've got lineage from two parts of the world. So from Europe, England. My mum is from Lancashire, in England, up north, as they say. And then
switch quite easily then.
And then yeah, and then I got my other lineage is from Jamaica. My father, he's born in Jamaica, and my father's family Jamaican. As you notice, I didn't slip into the Jamaican accent. It's just suddenly I don't seem to slip into that one so easily. So I'm not going to embarrass myself.
Okay. It might come out later on when you're not.
It might, maybe it does come out every now and again. Yeah, but yeah.
Okay. Okay. So thank you for sharing that. Where, when, and with whom was your first yoga class?
You know something? I think it was like, I remember, I just have a vague memory of probably I was about 18, 19, and I used to go to this class in Dance Works. I don't know why. I used to travel on the Jubilee line to Bond Street, I remember, and just to see this class, I don't know how I found it, I don't know why. It was miles away from where I lived, or I had to get a train. I remember it was such a beautiful class, and I used to come home on the train, and it just unraveled everything, all the beautiful energy that I'd experienced in that class. And then I used to, and then
Garden? Dance Works, was that in Covent Garden?
It's in Bond Street. It's in Bond Street.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think it was Hatha yoga. I mean, I guess like in hindsight, I look back and, you know, it was just yoga, but I guess it was a Hatha yoga class. And I just remember used to leave floating and feeling incredible. And then I practiced an ex of mine. His mum was a yoga teacher, so I used to go to her classes. She was an Iyengar teacher, and I used to go to her classes, I remember. And then it wasn't really until 2018, and I had a regular practice. That was when I just started to practice more regularly.
What
but
you
know,
you think that made you start practicing more regularly?
I think it was like, and I have to be honest, I think like a lot of people will say, you know, it was more a physical thing. Like I was, at the time I was dancing, I was swimming, I was running. I think I was doing kickboxing. I was like a really active, very, very active. Yeah. And then, you know, someone always says, oh, you know, you should try yoga. You should, you're like, yoga's really good for you and you should try that. And then I remember, like, you know, and you just like, oh yeah, I'll add that to the list. I'll do that. And, you know, and then I found Ashtanga, which is obviously a very dynamic practice. And I remember just doing it. Yeah, absolutely. And I just remember being like, oh, I've just got to do this. I just got to do it. Like, and I had a video. It was a video. It wasn't a teacher. I just had a video that I did. And I was so disciplined and religious. I used to do it 3 days a week on top of everything else. And then so kind of a little bit of my story was that I went to Canada to see my family. And then I took my video with me. By this time I'd been doing it for about a year. And then I took the video with me. And then like because it's like abroad, you can't use the DVD or something, you can't use the so I remember I couldn't play my video. And I remember thinking, no, what am I going to do? I'm not going to be able to practice yoga. And then obviously, like in my head, I'm like, you know this you've been doing this video for a year, 3 days a week. And so that was the first time I practiced by myself. And honestly, I came back and my life changed. And I felt like when I came back, I was like, I couldn't really put my finger on it. What was it that changed? And I really believed that it was the practice and coming to it in a way without the video and coming to it with myself. And then suddenly it transformed something. And that's when I became vegan. That's when that's when a lot of, and I just wanted to know more about this practice.
Amazing. Wow. Was it also, do you think, the environment, because you were weighing like lots of fresh air and stuff? And
not really. I was in Toronto, which is basically like London. But yeah, no, and I think it was more just that I came back, and I remember just coming back and wanting to do a detox as well, because the food is very different in America and Canada. It's a lot heavier. So I remember thinking, right, I better come back, have a detox. And then just I've never eaten meat, fish ever since. Yeah, that was the kind of turning point, in my life. So
2018.
that was 2009.
2009, beg your pardon, 2009.
Yeah,
okay.
2009.
Wow. Amazing. Wow. So the first yoga class was, well, the regular practice you said was from
2008. 2008.
8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
2008. Okay. So at what point, where did you realize that you wanted to start teaching yoga?
Oh,
but the regular practice, where did you kick in, or realizing that was even an option for you?
I mean, probably maybe about 2015 and 16. I think maybe that was when I really felt called to. Maybe I always had a secret dream of being a teacher. I think I remember telling someone I had a secret dream. It was a secret dream. I was like, oh, that maybe one day that would be nice. I don't know, because I didn't really feel qualified, you know, like I still felt like such a student, and I just never really felt qualified to teach. So, and I wasn't really in a rush, and I really wanted something to offer. So I was like, secretly, I really would love to teach this practice, but I was still wanting to find out more about it myself. Yeah, so I guess that's what everyone, it was like it was my little thing that I was like, oh, it was like close to my heart. And then that didn't materialize until 2017, and that was after I studied. So and then it was like
was it your MA at SOAS?
MA, yeah. Okay. So I was like, all right, well, you've kind of done the academia side, so maybe it's time, you know.
Was it so now I'm veering off of the questions simply because it's so connected. So where you're saying you were seeking, you found a philosophy course at SOAS?
Yeah. And it was, I say it was yoga philosophy. I mean, really it's a kind of history and philosophy of yoga. Okay. Really from an academic, it's not really a practitioner's course. It's very much an academic historical course. And I think I'd done my degree. So I did my degree in philosophy, politics, and history at Birkbeck, and that's it was very Eurocentric, very which was very interesting, very informative. But at the same time, there was like, I don't know, I didn't even know that there was a course like this, and I found it kind of serendipitously in a way. And then I was like, oh my gosh, it was like a, you know, it was a no-brainer. That's what I wanted to study. I
can't remember how, but I think I somehow came across some of your papers, because you've got some of them publicly available on
yes,
your
on academia.
And
academia.
I was like, oh my God, how did I not know that you had this, you know, depth of knowledge? I was like, wow. So it's on my to-do list to read your papers. But yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so what year was the teaching? Sorry, remind me.
2017.
2017. Okay.
That's when I did my teacher training. Yeah.
So when you're moving to the next question, when and with whom was your first teacher training?
So my teacher training was with the YMCA.
Okay.
And it was it's a hatha yoga diploma. And obviously I'm sure you imagine, and sure, like people that know about yoga, they'll, you know there's like not shame as such, but rather, oh, YMCA, like, you know what I mean? It's not really what people associate with yoga. There's a bit of a surprise there, like, okay, YMCA, all right. But I'm going to be honest, like, you know, we've got to be 100% honest. To go and do yoga teacher training, you're talking about $3,500 minimum. Right. And I just wasn't in that. I wasn't even in a position to have that. I just did not have that kind of money or access to that money to do a yoga teacher training. And the YMCA offer, it's essentially, they class it as 500 hour in theory, in terms of the work that goes into it. and it's a diploma, and you can get a grant for it, basically, through the government. So there's that. So for me, that was why I chose that, because it was the only way for me to train as a teacher, because there was the chance to get a grant for it.
Financial,
Absolutely. And then also on the YMCA, I think that there's some benefits to that. There's a real strong emphasis on anatomy, obviously, and the kind of health and safety and the physical aspect of yoga. And for me, with my knowledge base, that was kind of where I lacked quite a lot of knowledge in terms of anatomy and muscles and inserts and, and the kind of knowledge about all how the body kind of works together and stuff. So for me, like it was also the level 3 anatomy and physiology that was really, really good as well. So yeah, and then, I've done training since then, but ultimately that's my certificate.
Amazing. So your further trainings, were any of those abroad? Did you go out of England to do any of them?
No. Shamefully, I haven't.
One day,
I'd
one
love
day.
to. Yeah, absolutely. I would really love to. Yeah. Even, I still haven't been to India. Shocking. I mean, yeah, this is my, it's my heart, again, another little secret dream that's close to my heart for
everything happens, at the time, so when it's your time, you will get there,
I'm sure of it.
You will get there when it's
I'm sure of it.
So that's great. Thank you so much. So we're going to move on to, I'm jumping in question. Casting your mind back to your first training, so the YMCA training. Can you remember how many people roughly were on it and how many people of color?
Oh yeah, I can remember. I would say there was at least about 30 people. I think there was about maybe 25 to 30 of us. And there's only one other person of color on that course. Wow. And that's the one person I still speak to, but still have contact with. Another black woman. Okay. She's still practicing teaching today? As far as I know, yes. I'm not sure she went on to teach, but yeah, as far as I know, still practicing. I think you won't be surprised that the answer to that question is always in the lower number. I think the most we've had, and on average, the classes are, about 25, 30, some smaller, but generally 25, 30. And then roughly it's the 2s, the 3s. I think the most was probably like 7 or 8. Wow. And that was in my TT. And that was 2017. 2017. Wow. Yeah. And where did you do yours? Who did you do your training with? Try Yoga. Oh, okay. Yeah. So Try Yoga have a scholarship as well, right? For their trainings as well. No, they keep it quiet. Not the time. That's probably to change. But now not the time. I was lucky through a redundancy program. I got some money, but anyway, it's not about me. It's about you. Anyway. But yeah, and what's great now is as time is moving on. So, you've heard about Radical Darshan, the 300-hour TT that's run by 4 women of color, Janelle, Layla, yes, Callie and Stacey, that's launching next month, so that's amazing. That's a powerhouse, man. Wow. Whoa. Wow. Yeah. So, wow, man. Whoever's on that training, wow. Radical Darshan. Yes. So yeah, that's something really to look forward to. So yeah, and you're right. There are more incredible trainings coming up now with scholarships, be it through Fierce Calm, other companies are sponsoring. So they've had I think a couple of scholarships. Definitely they have scholarship places, but you're seeing it popping up more and more now, which will And actually, on that note, I have to mention that I'm going to be part of a training that starts in September, which is kind of connected to the Yoga for Life project. Oh. So they've got they've got a teacher training for BME, young people specifically, more geared towards young people. Okay. So I'll be probably doing some modules on on that training.
Excellent.
Yeah, so they're lucky. Yeah, they've got funding for it, so it'll be so like you said, there's a lot more things, you know, yeah,
you know,
it's changing.
The answer to that question going forward is going to start to change, you know, so it's all good.
Yeah,
it's good to see change. Yeah, well done to you for being on faculty for your TT. All the best for it. All the best.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're now going to move on to the highs and lows of the wellness industry. And, you know, I always say, let's start with any lows and end on any highs if you have them. But start with the lows. And, you know, this is your perspective from, you know, your experience. So wellness industry, what are any lows that come to mind for you?
Like, I'm going to be honest, I've been incredibly lucky. So I can't really say I've had like really any lows in the industry. But I think there's a few things that I would say that I found challenging, let's say, particularly as a yoga teacher, the peripatetic nature of teaching, this kind of running up and down here, there, over there, you know, I'm in East, I'm in North, I'm in West, I'm in South. Like you know, that feels very antithetical to the stillness of this practice. And I'm going to be honest, I could never really get my head around that. I know some teachers don't find that an issue, they just do it. But for me, I found that extremely challenging to maintain the practice for myself while, you know, and the integrity of the practice for myself while, you know, running around. It just didn't, that really, I found that really challenging. And I think that's one of the realities about teaching that you don't realize when you, sorry, go on.
No, I was just thinking, I hear you and I totally agree with you, thinking some of the covers that I was doing in a day. But do you think that lockdown and the pandemic will shift that for us now? Do you think, because I know I'm not going to travel like I used to travel.
Yeah, I think people, I mean, there's definitely a stillness that's been implied where you realize, oh my gosh, you know, what was like, how was I living like that? Exactly. I think many people have thought that. But whether or not it's a choice, I don't ever feel like it was ever a choice anyway. How much of this is really a choice and how much of this is really just that's what you have to do in order to make a living. You know, so I would say that the imperative is probably what will decide in the end. I mean, it would be nice to think that we'd be able to pick and choose. I mean, some people are, and I think if you're in a position to, then I think choose what's right for you. But like you say, I think many people will choose a more slower pace of life. We should, you know, I think that's right. But I would say one of the other challenges about the industry, and this has been a big one really for me this year, I think particularly with having such a profoundly impactful time, you know, like to be living through a time like this. I think the wellness industry has a tendency to I think there's pockets where there's a lot of toxic positivity, where there is a lot of ideas about what it should mean to be well, what it should mean to be, and maybe let me get my words right. As in, there's an image of wellness. And then I feel like there's a lot of people that try to fit into that image when maybe that's not really what's really going on. And I think we can all do this, particularly on social media, where we give an idea about what, and for me, I guess wellness is about wholeness. Actually, I'm sure I heard this somewhere. It's about wholeness, so it's about everything, and it's about encompassing everything. And I feel like sometimes the wellness industry has a tendency to self-edit itself, to cut out all the bits that, you know, are quite ugly, or they don't really like, or doesn't fit the image of, like, you know, yoga on a beach with your hair flowing in the wind and everything's just pretty happy. We're all happy. We're all having a great time. We're all at peace with ourselves. We've all reconciled all our, you know, deepest, darkest fears and, you know, and hang-ups and things like that. And I just think No, I feel like this practice is about being human. It's about owning our foibles and using this beautiful practice to help us face that and look at that and be okay with that, with all of it, the good and the bad. So I just think that, yeah, sometimes it feels like there isn't space for messy play. Like I would say, a bit of messy play in the wellness industry. It's all a bit, we're good. We're good. We're great. Like we're amazing. We look, and like that suit doesn't fit me.
Absolutely.
You know. Yeah.
Cool. So those are your lows.
Yeah.
Do you have any highs to share?
Oh yeah, so many. So many highs. I get to work and see and be around amazing people, amazing people who've been also drawn to this practice. So you know, these are we're all seekers, you know. So I get to be around other seekers, and I learn so much from other teachers, from other students, and from, you know, people who are seeking are always people who find. So I always find knowledge from people, and I find that incredibly enriching. I also find that because there is a level of self-awareness that comes with that, mostly you're around people that are extremely self-aware and who are very conscious about how they move in the world. So people who are very like thoughtful, who, you know, who kind of anticipate things, who behave it, who are often very consciously compassionate, you know, who are kind of aware of themselves, who are kind of aware of their impact in the world. And respond like that. So I just find it very easy to communicate with people, to speak to people, to form bonds and friendships, meaningful friendships with people. So in that sense, you know, even where I used to work, I worked at a yoga studio, and I mean, I was like, this is amazing. I come to work, I take off my shoes, and I just smile at people and let them in, and everyone does yoga and everyone's happy, and then everyone goes. I don't, you know, there's this smell of incense and happy vibes all abound. I mean, it's great. Amazing. It's great. It's a great industry in that sense. It's beautiful. So I
hear you. I definitely agree with you. It's just the connections have been totally amazing. Totally amazing. We've met each other. So there you go.
Yes. Indeed. Exactly.
Indeed. So when I started doing these sessions, it was like, what got you through lockdown? Because it was one lockdown, right? But now we've experienced 3. So it's like, please share with us your lockdown experience. You know, what has got you through, but have they been different, each of them?
Yeah, each one was different because by the time we were into 2nd and 3rd lockdown, I was back to working flexi furlough. Right. But I would say in the first lockdown, unstructured time was my absolute altar. Like, I mean, I loved that. Like literally from day to day, I was very lucky. I was furloughed, and I just had it was unstructured. There was no plan. There was just free space and time, and I did a lot of exploration, a lot of introspection, a lot of communing with nature, a lot of time alone, obviously, and that just felt really powerful. It was like a gift. It was very healing. A lot of rest, a lot of quietness, which I really benefited from at that time, you know, in and amongst, you know, a lot of, you know, I also so I don't have a TV. I don't really watch the news. I'm not really plugged in. So I don't really have all of that bombarding me either. So I'm kind of in this little bit of a little bubble, really. And then with the second lockdown, I think, you know, definitely, you know, I got into like HIIT and running during lockdown. I mean, like before I was just doing yoga, and now I'm like, you know, I'm HIIT queen. Like I've got to get at least one HIIT in the week. Like,
wow.
So like obviously just like needing some of that, like obviously, so that kind of came out as well. So that kind of get me through. Obviously, parks, friendships, family, food, good food, lots of cooking,
yeah, reading. Did you discover new recipes? Did you get creative in lockdown?
Yeah, I did a little bit. Yeah, done my fair share of banana bread. I've experimented with banana bread in different ways, with peanut butter, with fruits, with this, with that, you know, tried it different ways. But yeah, good food. Like, it gave me time to really source my food and cook wholesome food and be slow with everything. Was so much slower.
Oh God, yeah.
And I appreciated things so much more. So I'd really like to hold on to a bit of that, but I don't think there's any chance.
What it's interesting because you must have like.
There's any chance of holding on to that slowness?
I was going to say, what would you hold on to? And you would say, yeah, you're going to hold on to. What in particular would you want to hold on to?
Just having time and space and not really feeling like, you know, there's something to do, there's something to do, there's something to do, and like, then you've got to do this, then you've got to do that, then you've got to be here, then you've got to be there, then you've got to, like, and everything's always time constrained. I always say this quote, this is it Lao Tzu, and it's, you know, nothing in nature is rushed, yet everything gets done. And I feel like that was the philosophy I lived by during lockdown. It was like there was no rush, but everything got done. And I would love to hold on to that. I mean, it's
in its own time.
Yeah, in its own rhythm. There's a rhythm, there's a natural rhythm, and we all have our own natural rhythm. And I just feel like, like what I realize is this world, you know, slams us out of our natural rhythm almost constantly, to a point where we don't even know what our natural rhythm is. It took a pandemic for us to tap into that and realize, oh my gosh, how was I living? How was I living? Absolutely. How was I doing that? I think we've all questioned that. So I would really like to see some of this slowness and stillness remain.
I hear you. I hear you. Totally agree with you. I really hope so. I hope so. Okay, so cast your mind back to the summer last year, you know, the unfortunate killing of George Floyd, may he rest in peace. Then the Black Lives Matter protest. Can you recall, A, did you get like lots of additional followers, and B, did you get any approaches from studios where they were trying to do better by diversifying?
No, I never got that. I didn't get I didn't get any approaches, and I didn't and I didn't get you know, people saying to me, educate me. No, I didn't get any of that. I did get one friend, a white friend who I love to bits, but I don't really, you know, that's life, you know, not necessarily someone I keep in touch with regularly, but every now and then, maybe every 6 months or something, we check in, and it's like one of those kinds of friendships. And I remember she called me up and to say, you know, I'm sorry, I just had no idea. And I was like, wow, that felt really, it was really, I didn't really even know what to say. It was really, there's something about that, to have been living, to be knowing and living with the heaviness of that reality, to suddenly see the world go, and there was something really hopeful about that.
Oh God.
But there was also something really, I don't know, maybe a little bit scary as well. I can't really explain it. I can't really explain it, because it was almost like, don't get my hopes up. Don't get my hopes up that this might be it, that this is that people actually recognize now. And you know, when you're like, guys, we've been saying this, we've been saying this.
This is not breaking news. This is not breaking news. Yeah,
absolutely.
But good on your friend for picking this up, because that probably wasn't very easy to do, because you know, I know of friends who still remain silent because the words can't quite come out. So the fact that your friend was able to pick up the phone and speak and say, you know, she was sorry, I think that's, you know, pound. That's not being unkind to anybody who hasn't. And I didn't feel like it wasn't a sorry emotion with it. It's not an
Yeah.
easy, I'm not belittling it in any way.
No, absolutely. And I don't think it was a sorry to me personally. And I don't think it was a sorry that was like, oh, I'm going to take on the whole responsibility for, it wasn't that. It was more a sorry of like, I just had no idea.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I didn't have any idea. And had I had some idea, I would have done something, and I could have done something. And now I know I'm going to do so. So now she's reading the books.
Yes.
She's donating the money. She's going on the marches, she's watching the interviews. She's, she really has been diligent about really, and I really appreciate that. And in a way, I think that has to come from the heart. Like, it really, I think, I sometimes sort of feel that kind of that attitude of like, educate yourself, like all of that, like it doesn't feel helpful. I feel like, something you want to come from that space. For me, I felt like that with my friend. I felt like it did come from that place. Yes, and it really moved me. It was really emotional, actually, when she said that.
Thank you for sharing, because it's nice to hear that perspective and how it kind of touched you. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. So now you get the opportunity to promote whatever you'd like to promote, what you got coming up, any retreats, any workshops, all the different wonderful things that you do. How can we experience all these things? What's coming up?
Well, so I have a women's yoga class on a Saturday, which actually I'm actually is coming to an end, because I don't know if I should really promote it, because it's coming to an end at the end of May. But like basically, if you go to my website and join my mailing list, I will let you know, because I will be doing one-off workshops. I will be doing some yoga philosophy workshops. I will be doing some women's intuitive healing circles, and also probably some one-off yoga workshops as well. So that's kind of where I am. I guess, like, I really, really, for me, the work that I really, want to promote really most is my healings and my tarot reading, my intuitive readings. Again, like on my website, skiesandflora.com, that's where you can kind of just find out a bit more about what I do, and then just come and get a reading and a healing. And
where do you do
and also, I mean, also
space at home,
have a space at home, and I also do them online as well, but mostly at home. Working from home. And also, I would really like to promote my project, The Health Tree, which is a project that I'm coordinating for the charity that I work for. So I work for St Margaret's House, and which is a charity in Bethnal Green, and I manage the wellbeing program there. And so we've got a new project called The Health Tree, which is just all things health and well-being. And it's an accessible, so it's accessible in terms of pricing. It's for the local community. So there's classes, there's an acupuncture community clinic, massage shala, big up massage shala, who are involved doing a 6-week pop-up. So there's yoga, Pilates, fitness, running, Tai Chi, and workshops as well. So I'd really like to promote that. So it's a project I'm working very, very hard for, but I'm incredibly proud of. So I hope people of Bethnal Green will come and join us and make good use of that as well.
Definitely, post it on your socials. I like to reshare. I like to put things on stories.
I know you're so good at that. I love that. You always reshare and promote everyone. So thank you.
That's how we get the messages out. That's how we uplift each other. That's how we amplify each other's voices, by sharing each other's work. It takes a minute to go forward and put the @ sign. Done.
Maybe some hearts.
It's nice. I'm happy to do that. I just like to share the passions, and I like to support and be involved in. So anything you might have forgotten to share, anything you want to revisit, anything else you want to plug?
Just to remind everybody about the universality of love. Love is the only truth. We are all one. And in the end, that's all that really matters. And so just one love. One love.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And if you, when you're watching this on catch up and you do have any questions, you can actually type it into the comments box and it will come through to Shaka, or you can go to her website, skiesandflora.com, and post for a question there. But thank you so much for watching. And on the...
Thank you, Yvonne.
You're very, very welcome. Very, very welcome. The next Yoga of Colour we have coming up 31st of May. So yes, Bank Holiday Monday, we'll still do the yoga journeys as normal. It is Ashtanga, so watch out for that. And also this series is coming to an end on the 23rd of August, so in its current form. So if you know any yogis of colour out there, any wellness, anybody of colour in the wellness space, and they want to hold space in some way, More Yoga want to keep this going in another form. So if anybody's got any ideas, please do mail contact More Yoga via the Instagram. But thank you once again, Shaka. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you so, so much.
Take care.
It's been wonderful. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.